Jai Swami Narayan. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank everyone who has come to this wonderful winter Shibir of ours. And anyone new here, you guys are going to have a great time and a positive learning experience. With the blessings of Param Puja Dharma Dhurandhar 1008 Acharya Shri Ajendra Prasad Ji Maharaj तथा परम पूज्य धर्म धुरंधर 108 भावी आचार्य श्री नुगेंद्र प्रसाद जी महाराज तथा धर्मकुड़ना आशीर्वाद थी. Today, on behalf of Lakshmi Narayan Dev Yuvak Mandal, we present to you 2020 Winter Shibir Satsang Nurang. Again, thank you for anyone who's come new, anyone who has not had this experience of a Shibir before. We're really excited to have you, and we promise to you that you'll have a great learning experience. Going forward, I will hand it over to Rahul Uncle to give us a small intro to Satsang Nurang.
Thank you, Jai Swaminarayan, everyone. Welcome to the Winter Shibir of 2020. Both of the Shibir this year we had was virtual, right? In a summer we had a virtual Shibir. Now we have a virtual Shibir, and many of you are in the school who are also studying virtually, right? So it's a very challenging year for this year for us. But this is our very good opportunity to end 2020 with a winter Shibir and pray Maharaj that 2021 we can meet in person in a summer Shibir or even in the winter Shibir, right? So very important time. And this is also a Dhanurmas, right? On Tuesday, Dhanurmas started, which is a very important month for us to pray Bhagwan from now till Uttarayan, so until January 14th. Whoever lives near temple, they might have an opportunity to go to the temple like at 5 a.m. in the morning and pray Swaminarayan Bhagwan and Vishnu Bhagwan in this month. But many of us, we may not have an opportunity because of the coronavirus, right? But this weekend is the first weekend of a Dhanurmas, so that gives another very good chance to us to pray together and learn through this Shibir about our faith, Hinduism, about the Niyam, Nischay and Paksh, and how major Santos and Hari Bhaktos, how did they practice that during that time, and how we can continue to practice during our time, right? Swaminarayan Bhagwan has, when he was on the earth, one of the very important thing that he always did, and that we can see in our various many books, that he always wanted to have a sabha, right? All our Vachanamruts are actually a sabha. And the importance of the sabha is we all the satsangi should get together, share knowledge, share questions, share answers, their opinion, and Maharaj then teaches us that how to move forward in satsang, right? So this Shibirs is our opportunity to get together, and I can learn from you and you can learn from me, and we can raise the question. And Lalji Maharaj, since Maharaj is now not on the earth, Lalji Maharaj can answer our questions, and then we can do a very similar sabha that used to happen in Maharaj's time on an almost daily basis, right? So I want to thank you all to join us, taking the time in a December to join the Shibir and giving us an opportunity to be in the Sabha with you, right? And we all should thank each other as well. So it is a very important Shibir, and we are going to learn a lot today and tomorrow. There are a lot of fun activities that we have planned based on what we did in the summer. Many of you might have joined in the summer and enjoyed like a lot of activities, right? So we are going to continue to do that today and tomorrow as well. And we are going to learn a little bit more about our faith, our Hinduism, and Niyam, Nishchay, and Perks, and what it is, how can we practice, and how we can advance if we are already practicing, right? And if you have any questions, this is a very good forum to ask those questions, get it answered, and learn from each other, right? So with that, I'm going to stop here, and let's start with the next step in the Shibir. We are waiting for Lalji Maharaj to join us to give us the Ashirvachan and blessing before we start. So until the Lalji Maharaj joins us, uh, let's do a dhoon or a, oh, Lalji Maharaj is here. Jai Swaminarayan, Lalji Maharaj.
Jai Swaminarayan.
Okay.
So, very warm welcome to all my dear children from abroad, especially the members of LNDYM and LNDMM. Today, we are having an opportunity to learn something about our religion, our Indian culture, our heritage. See, learning is not that easy, and it's not a child's play. In the phrase, if we want to fit this, learning is never a child's play. But our young team has made this so easy for the young generation to grasp the knowledge that is most essential for every one of us. Though being a satsangi, or even if we are not satsangi, then also the good things and good culture of our Indian heritage is very essential and required for us to grasp our soul very keenly for betterment of our life. Today's Shibir, this winter 2020, as Rahul Bhai has said recently, that this year, due to COVID, we are not able to arrange this Shibir practically physically, but virtual Shibir is also that interesting, and I welcome that all the people have made the good efforts and to make it more easier for the young people and young children to know our sampradaya in a better way. I welcome everyone and wish you all the good luck for this 2 days Shibir. You may learn many things new. It may be something repetition also, but that all things, if the things which we are learning here are very important for our life, for our future, and to make us not as only a good satsangi, but to make us a good human being too. So all the best to all of you and wish you best. I will be there time to time. I will be attending this Shibir, but hopefully you people enjoy the Shibir. All the best. Jai Swaminarayan.
Jai Swaminarayan Bapuji. Thank you so much for those kind words. As you heard, Bapuji mention that learning is not easy. So our small team here, including LNDYM and LNDMM, has put in a small slide. So our first topic is going to be a PowerPoint on Nishchay. And I will hand it over to Vraj to start us off with our first learning experience of the Shibir.
Jisumnaran, welcome to Satsang Norang, our online winter Shibir 2020. So Satsang Norang is based off of 3 different elements. Niyam, which is observance or obedience of a religion, discipline, or law, which means it's the rules that we follow in our religion. Nishchay, which is firm faith in Bhagwan, Swaminarayan Bhagwan. and Baksh, which is loyalty towards Bhagwan and Bhagwan Sampradaya. And when you combine all of these things and and the interdependence of all three of Niyam, Nishchay, and Baksh, you get a strong foundation in Satsang and a strong foundation also for life too. So that is what Satsang Nurang is. So before we actually start the actual PowerPoint, let's do a quick rapid fire. It's a set of question and answers. And this is kind of to warm us up. It's kind of early in the morning. So let's start a really quick rapid fire. So we will be split up into boys and girls. The girls will go first and they will, I will present the question. They'll be on the slide. And then someone can raise their hand and then I will call on them and then they will be unmuted to answer the question. As soon as you're unmuted, you only get 10 seconds to answer the question. Okay? Great. And participation is very much encouraged. So the girls, first question is, what is Maharaj's mother and father's names? And for a bonus, you get if you can guess their birth names. So anyone want to take this one? Raise your hand, girls. Anyone? Who would like to take this question?
Dharmadev and Bhakti Mata.
That is correct. Good job. Shri Dharmadev and Shri Bhaktimat and Shri Dharmadev. That was Bhagwan's mother and father's name. And their birth names were Bala and Hari Prasad Pandey. And we use the word Shri in front of Bhagwan's entire family, including Dharmagur, because it's a sign of respect. And we also use it when we say the names before Santos. Boys, what is Maharaj's elder brother and elder Babi's name? Anyone can chime in. Here.
Swasani Babi and Ram Pratap Bhai.
Correct. Shri Ram Pratap Ji and Shri Suvasini Devi. We use the word Devi because the in our religion, Jivrite like Lakshmi Narayan Dev. It's like Lakshmi Narayan Dev. It would be Suvasini Devi, and that was personally not our Babi, so we would use the word Devi. But yes, correct. So back to the girls. What is Maharaj's younger brother and younger Babi's name? Anyone want to take this one? So Maharaj had an older brother and a younger brother. So we went over the older brother. So who wants to take the younger brother and his Babi's name?
Icharamji and Varyali Babi.
That is correct. Shri Charamji and Shri Varyali Babi. So now we went over Bhagwan's main family. So now let's go into some other concepts of our satsang. For instance, who is Maharaj's guru? Boys, who wants to take this question? Anyone can chime in here.
Ramanand Swami.
That is correct. Good job. Shri Ramanand Swami. So, girls, so how long did Nilkant Varni's one return last? And if I were you, I'd be specific on this one. Anyone want to answer? So Bhagwan left home at 11 years old, and then he went on a one return around India. Who would like to answer?
Isn't it 7 years, 6 months, and 11 days?
You are very, very close. That's very impressive that you remember the days. It is 7 years, 1 month, and 11 days. Good job. That's impressive. So when after Bhagwan's Vanvicharan, Bhagwan met his guru Ramanand Swami. So boys, when Bhagwan took Ramanand Swami's Gadi and took the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, what two main promises did Sri Sajanand Swami ask Ramanand Swami? And even if you get one of them, that's also fine. Would anyone like to take this question? Even if you get one of them, or even if you don't have a clue, it is really important to think, like, engage. So Bhagwan took Ramanand Swami's Gadi after Bhagwan met Ramanand Swami and is under him.
Wasn't it to always protect his followers, and that even to save him, he would get bit by 100 scorpions?
Yes, that is one of them. Good job. To take the dukh of all of his satsangis. And the second one was to make sure that any of Bhagwan's satsangis who followed satsang never suffers from inadequate food or money in their life. So Bhagwan basically, in the sense, was protecting us from poverty when he asked that. So girls again, who are Sri Swaminarayan Bhagwan's adopted sons and which Gadis do they represent? So after Maharaj took the Gadi, he actually set up 2 Gadis for us. So the lineage continues for us. So any of the girls want to take this question? Janu?
It's Raghuvirji Maharaj had Vartal and Ayodhya Prasadji had Ahmedabad.
That is correct. Good job. So Bhagwan set up 2 Gadis, Ahmedabad Gadi and Vartal Gadi. And Vartal Gadi's lineage is from Raghuvirji Maharaj, and Ayodhya Prasadji Maharaj Gadi is Ahmedabad Gadi. So where and when was the Shiksha Patra written? Any of the boys want to answer this one? We're supposed to read the Shiksha Patra every day in our puja. And so anyone want to answer this one and try to figure it out?
On Mahasud Pancham in Vadal?
Yes, correct. Vasant Panchami, which is Mahasud Pancham, which is exactly what you said. It's same date in Varta. And the specific location, which I don't think anyone would know, but it's important to know, is the Hari Mandap. So back to the girls. Who was adorned with the title of the mother of our satsang? So there were many santos, but one was very vala.
Muktanand Swami.
Muktanand Swami. Correct. Sadguru Sri Muktanand Swami was adorned with the title of, and Muktanand Swami also wrote our Aarti as well. So the Aarti that we sing every single day. So before it was called the Swaminarayan Sampradaya. What was the initial name of our Sampradaya? Does anyone want to take a jab at this one? Sahil?
Uddhav Sampradaya.
Correct. It was the Uddhav Sampradaya, who was initiated by Bhagwan's Guru, Sri Ramanand Swami. So good job on the rapid fire. That was just a quick warm up. So let's get started on Nischay. Now, to go into more detail, what is Nischay? Nischay is firm faith in Swaminarayan Bhagwan. And in other words, it is a strong belief in Bhagwan or the doctrines of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. So a person who has Nischay will always does not need proof to believe in Bhagwan. they just put this, they have the sastras as knowledge and they use that to have faith in Bhagwan. So Bhagwan states in Gadara Madhya 10, just as a woman who carries a fetus in her womb attains a child, a person who carries Nishchay Bhagwan will attain Bhagwan's Akshardham. So similarly, when a woman is pregnant, she nurtures her body with her vitamins, she drinks enough water, she eats good food, and in the end, she has a healthy baby. Similarly, if we fuel Nischay throughout our whole life, in the end, we will go to Bhagwan's Akshardham. So,
Raj, before you go ahead, just a quick reminder, we would like everyone to please turn on their videos. Thank you.
yes. So there are 3 levels of Nischay. So Nischay is firm faith, but there are different types of Nischay, levels of Nischay. So Kanish Nischay is kind of like the lowest of the 3. You have Nischay in Bhagwan, but that Nischay is really easily breakable. Meaning that, for example, if Bhagwan was in a sabha and Bhagwan got angry at Hari Bhagat and he started like flailing his arms or he started getting violent, then that bhakta would be like, why? He's Bhagwan and he's like getting angry over like such a small thing. Why is he doing that? Like he questions Bhagwan's actions automatically when he becomes angry, like Krodha Vatyara. So that's the lowest Nischay that you have, questioning Bhagwan. Madhyam Nischay, which is the middle. This is easy to remember because Madhyam, middle, they both start with M. But Madhyam Nischay is when you have Nischay in Bhagwan to a higher degree than people with Ganesh Nischay, but it can still falter. Like, for instance, if Bhagwan got angry, then you would be like, oh no, this is Bhagwan. This is Sarvapari Sri Swaminarayan Bhagwan. He's angry for a reason. It isn't uncaused. You never have a doubt in Bhagwan. But if Bhagwan were to break one of, like, for instance, our Panchvartamans, like Bhagwan started eating meat or drinking alcohol, that person's Nischay would falter. Like, he's Swaminar Bhagwan, he set up these rules, but he's breaking them himself. What kind of Bhagwan is he? Then you start questioning Bhagwan. This is Madhyam Nischay. Now, Uttam Nischay is a person who would never question Bhagwan, no matter what. This person has firm faith in Bhagwan and does not have any sansay in Bhagwan and his action, whether good or bad. For instance, if you studied really hard on a test and you ask Bhagwan, can I please have an A on my test tomorrow? But you get the test back and you got a C. Now, you would think to blame Bhagwan because you're like, wow, I asked Bhagwan for an A, but I didn't get an A. But you don't know the circumstances that Bhagwan is presenting to you. Maybe you didn't study hard enough, or maybe you didn't put in the effort that Bhagwan thought you could put in the effort. Maybe you need to understand a perspective that Bhagwan is here to help us and to guide us. He's not our enemy, and he's whatever dukh or sukh he brings us, it's for us. So Uttam versus Kanishth Nischay. So Chaitanand Swami in Gulayanu 12th Vachanamrut, Chaitanand Swami asks Bhagwan, if under such circumstances one develops Kanishth Nischay, can it later develop into Uttam Nischay? So basically, Chaitanand Swami is asking, if we have like lower Nischay, can we turn that into firm Nischay, like the best of the best? And then Bhagwan replies, if the listener possesses extreme Shraddha, and if he encounters pleasant Desh, Kar, Kriya, and Sang, and if he encounters a guru with Uttam Gnan, then the highest Nischay will develop. So for us to have a firmer Nischay, we need to understand that we need to have Gnan, because knowledge is the base of everything. You need it, as we learned in Summer Shibir. If we have Gnan, then we can understand who Bhagwan is and the greatness of Bhagwan and the true form of Bhagwan and how powerful he is. So if this person has a guru is basically a teacher. This can be your parents, your santo, even like an uncle at a mandir, someone who has higher gnan than you and who has uttam gnan. And if the person has pleasant desh, kar, kriya, and sang, meaning if this person is surrounded by positive affiliations around them, and if there are positive influences around them, then this person, the highest nischay will develop. Because see, Bhagwan uses the word develop and not happen. Develop means it is a gradual process. Nischay isn't like, okay, boom. Satsang isn't like boom. It takes time. It takes years. And it takes a lifetime to develop all these skills. That's why you should start now, start small, and grow it as you go older. Then Bhagwan even states, otherwise, such nischay would develop after many lives, not years, but lives. We have to come back on this earth multiple times to try to develop this nischay. So by surrounding ourselves with good sang and encountering good people and having good guidance, we can attain uttam nischay. Zoom poll time. So I'm going to launch a Zoom poll, and I'll give you guys like a minute to answer this. And the question is, which is the best form of nischay? We just went over this, and I think there are 3 options there. So I'll give you guys like a minute to answer this question to make sure everyone grasps it. So there are 3 types of nischay, different levels: Uttam, Kanisht, and Madhyam. Let's see which is the best. So most of you chose Uttam nischay, which is the correct answer. Uttam nischay is the highest nischay. Madhyam nischay is middle. It's right in the middle. And then Kanisht is the lowest. You still have doubt. You have Sansain Maharaj at times. So moving on. So now we know what nischay is, but how do we attain firm nischay? So to attain firm nischay, first you have to get into the mental state or mentality that Bhagwan Maharaj is superior. Bhagwan is above all. And you believe that Bhagwan is all of these things listed. So let's go over each and every one of them to really understand them. So you believe that Bhagwan is Akshardhamna Adhipati, which means Bhagwan is the owner of Akshardham. And not only is he just the owner, he came on earth to open up Akshardham, because no one on earth knew what Akshardham was, because Bhagwan had never come here before. So when Bhagwan came here, he opened the gates of Akshardham to his Hari Bhaktas on earth. And he set up all the 6 pillars for us and left us with so many other resources to attain his Akshardham. And Bhagwan is also Sarvapari. Bhagwan is above all, and he's almighty. And we also need to believe that Bhagwan is Sarvana Karta Harta, which means that he is the one who gives power. For instance, like you see like all these kings in like the ancient days, and even like today in some parts of the world, those kings, they didn't earn that power themselves. Bhagwan gave them that power for the karmas they have done, because they were good people. And what they do with that power can be good or bad, hopefully good. And we also believe that Bhagwan is Sarvana Karana Karan. Bhagwan is the cause of all causes. And we also believe that Bhagwan is Avatar na Avatari. So of all the 24 avatars that came before Bhagwan, Bhagwan is above all of them, and he is on the top. And lastly, we believe that Bhagwan is Raja the Raj, which means that Bhagwan is the king of all kings. And we believe that Bhagwan is above all. And so as a lila of Bana Kaparia was once really ill. He was a bhakta with strong nischay in Swaminarayan Bhagwan. And his mom, and he was one time really, really sick. So his mom told him to tie a black doro around his wrist. And like one of the babas came and gave them to her and be like, oh, Joe, go and tie this black doro around your son's wrist. But obviously, and then Bana Kaparia didn't believe this and said, no, my Bhagwan gave me this illness and he will take it away as well. That is under Bhagwan's control. Everything is. And his mom couldn't resist, so she got the black doro and tied it to him in bed when he was sleeping. Because as a mom, she cared so much about her son's well-being. So she didn't care about his wishes, but went ahead with it. And his mom said, look, and then the next day when he got up, the illness was cured. And then his mom was like, see, I told you that black dodo cure will cure it. I tied it to the bed. And then Bana Kaparia took the black dodo to the bao, and told him to take your dodo and give me my illness back. So basically, Bana Kaparia wanted his illness back because he had the mentality, if my Bhagwan gave me this illness, it will be only my Bhagwan who will take my illness away. I'm fine with it. Otherwise, it is not worth it. I don't want it away. And he had firm nischay that Bhagwan would take this illness away, that nobody else would. So his unshakable nischay was stayed the same. And one night, while Bana Kaparia was sick, Maharaj was reciting in Akshar Ordi in Karpur at midnight. He was asleep. And all of a sudden, Bhagwan woke up and he reached for Baguji to get Manki Gori ready. Baguji was really confused as to why Bhagwan needed like Manki Gori to go somewhere in the middle of the night. Bhagwan was in Gadpur and Bhagwan rode Manki Gori all the way to Jitpur and he reached there. And then Bana Kaparia like saw something and he got up from his bed and he didn't feel the illness anymore. And then at that time he saw Bhagwan, and at that same moment Bhagwan jumped off the Manki Gori. They ran towards each other and Bana Kaparia hugged Maharaj. And then Bhagwan said, Upasak hoy to avo, Upasak hoy to avo. And he repeated this 8 times. And basically he said that if you are my Satsangi, come to me. So Bana Kaparia went to him. He chose Bhagwan over that black dodo. And he knew that black dodo would cure his illness. He was fully aware that, okay, if I don't want this anymore, I can have the opportunity to get rid of this illness. But Bana Kaparia had so much nischay in Maharaj, he had uttam nischay in Maharaj, that Bhagwan would take this illness away and that nobody else would. So that is an example of how we should have nischay in our lives. So how do we build our nischay? So first we need to understand that Bhagwan is Sakar and Bhagwan is not Nirakar. Bhagwan Sakar Parnu basically means that Bhagwan was a human like us. Like in our mandirs, in our puja, that murti that we see is a human murti. It's not just a divine light, if that makes sense. That's what Nirakar means, a light. But Maharaj is an actual human. And that's what we need to have that belief, and which is true because Maharaj came here as a human and he did all of his activities similar to us. What makes him different from us is that he has special divya powers that separate us from him because he is Bhagwan. And also we need to follow Bhagwan's niyams. Bhagwan's niyams are outlined in the Shiksha Patri. We should be reading the Shiksha Patri as satsangis. We should try to read it every single day in our puja. And even if it's just one sloki, mind you, you might not have time. So you might not have time. That's fine. So even just reading one slok, Bhagwan will be happy because he knows that you're trying to listen to his niyams. And all these niyams in our Shiksha Patri outline the boundaries of our sampradaya and what we can and what we cannot do. And this is a great example of how niyam and nishay are interconnected. All 3 of the niyam, nishay, and paksh are really in touch with each other. So if you can connect the dots, it will lead to a strong foundation in satsang. This is just one example of the many. And we also need to understand why Bhagwan came here. Now, if you remember, I said this earlier, Bhagwan came here to open the gates of Akshardham. Up until Bhagwan's birth, no one knew that, oh, Swaminarayan Bhagwan, Swaminarayan, Swaminarayan, Swaminarayan. On earth, Swaminarayan Bhagwan did not even exist. Bhagwan wanted to open this door up for everyone and understand, here, I am Swaminarayan Bhagwan. I am the leader of the universe. I am the Almighty. Come under my refuge and I will take you to Akshardham. Akshardham, I think you might be a little confused as to what Akshardham may be. Akshardham is the heaven of all heavens. It is the top spot that you can get in the afterlife after we die. And most importantly, it ends the cycle of birth and death. In Hinduism, we believe that after our soul leaves our body, we reincarnate into another animal. This could be a bird, a dog, even a human, anything. So by going to Akshardham, we are in eternal peace with Maharaj, and we don't need to worry about coming back here or what the circumstances may be, because in this life, we got it good. but we don't know what happens in the next life or what happened before us. We must have done really good deeds in our past lives that we get life in satsang. So you need to also surround yourself with other satsangis. Like I said before, a good catchphrase in our satsang is Jevo Sang Evo Rang. By surrounding yourself with positive people and people who like strengthen your Nischay Maharaj, it will help you. This can be done like the second point, praying and going to mandir. By going to mandir, you're in Bhagwan's house, number one. You're in Bhagwan's home, and when you enter that is a peaceful state. Bhagwan has said that the mandir resembles his Akshardham. It is very similar because when Maharaj is in mandir, he is Pratyaksh Pranu, he is at mandir. That murti is the same as Pratyaksh Bhagwan because that is done by Acharya Maharaj has installed that murti. And by going to mandir, we automatically surround ourselves with positive people. And also, when you go to mandir, you also have satsang classes, I assume. So by going to those, you can attain more gnan or knowledge in our satsang, and you can attain firmer nischay through that gnan. And you also have a connection with Dharmakur, Santo, and Sankhyogi Beno. And by having this connection, you can ask them questions. You can understand things that you are unsure about. There are good resources for us to use. Our Dharmakur comes once or sometimes twice a year, same thing with Santo and Sankhyogiban. When they come, it is not easy. Traveling from state to state and going back to India, coming back, they're so busy. And to think that they take 1.5 months from their time to come here is absolutely insane. Like, let's take, for example, today, Bapuji. The time difference between here and India is day and night. So Bapuji right now, it's his day right now, and he's spending it here for Shibir for us. That takes extreme dedication, and that we should not take for granted. And we also need to read and understand the scriptures or the sastras of our sampradaya. Bhagwan has left us with so many good resources like the Satsangi Jivan, Siksha Patri, Vachnamrut, Deshvi Bhagno, like all these scriptures, they're outlined about what we should do, what we shouldn't do, how we should act, how we should live our lives. And by following all these scriptures and understanding what they're telling us to do, we can totally understand firm faith. We can have Nischay Maharaj through these scriptures, because you can only attain Nischay through knowledge. If you don't have knowledge in Bhagwan and you don't understand how great Bhagwan is, you won't have Nischay Maharaj because you don't have that understanding of who Bhagwan is. So by following all 6 of these pillars and strengthening your Gnan, you can attain Nischay. So the first bullet point of the last slide was that Bhagwan is Sakar. So if you remember what I said, that basically means Bhagwan has a definite murti. Bhagwan is a human form, just like you and me. So a quick story / Lila. If you remember Ramanand Swami, we went over this in the rapid fire. Ramanand Swami was Bhagwan's guru. But Ramanand Swami's guru, so Bhagwan na guru, was his former guru was Atmanand Swami. Atmanand Swami was powerful enough to do samadhi. Samadhi is when your soul leaves your body to go somewhere else for eternal peace, for peace, not eternal, just peace. And this can be done by going to do the Divya Darshan of a Dev or an Avatar or even Bhagwan himself. So Atmanand Swami could do samadhi within a short period of time under the leadership of Atmanand Swami. Ramanand Swami attained the skill, but he could only see the light, divine light form of Bhagwan. Mind you, Bhagwan is a human form. So he asked Swami in Satsangi Jivan Prakar 1, Adhya 14, "Oh Swami, I want to see God in his glorious human form in Samadhi, with whom I can communicate. My desire to see Lord Narayan in person has not been fulfilled." So basically, Ramanand Swami is saying that he wants to Lord Narayan. That is also equivalent to Swaminarayan Bhagwan. That's basically what he's saying, just a different name. So this desire of his has not been fulfilled. He goes, "I am disturbed. Have mercy on me and fulfill my lone desire." The only thing that Ramanand Swami wants is to have darshan of Maharaj, and he begged Atmanand Swami for it. But Atmanand Swami believed Bhagwan to be Nirakar, without a form. And basically, when he did samadhi, he could only see the light form of Bhagwan, which is false because Bhagwan had a human form. And this, Ramanand Swami refused to believe this because he had Nishchay that Bhagwan was a human form. So Ramanand Swami, without losing Nischay Maharaj, searched for a new guru and fell across Sri Ramanujacharya, the leader of the Ramanuj Vaishnav Sampradaya. Never losing Nischay, Ramanujacharya said to Ramanand Swami, always observe your dharma, perform worship to God, associate with pious persons, and keep your senses under control. So let's take a step back and kind of analyze this. Observing our dharma as kids would be to go to school, to make sure that we get a good education, to make sure that we're helping our parents when necessary. Those are considered our dharma, ethical duties that we should do. Ethical meaning moral. And this can also be done in the form of like community. If you see someone who needs help, you help them, whether that be in mandir, school, regardless. We should practice satsang in our daily lives too, to think that, let's take a step back and to like make sure that you are a good person too. You have kindness, you have empathy for other people, and you perform worship of God. So doing penance of Bhagwan, doing bhakti of Bhagwan, and associating with pious persons. So associate, like I said before, associating yourself with positive influences and keeping your senses under control. If you remember, we do Ekadasi to keep our senses under control, but that will be covered in Niyam in great detail. So I'm not going to go into too detail. This is just another example of how Niyam and Nischay are connected. All of these three elements are connected. And if you have all of this, then basically this is what Ramanujacharya said to Ramanand Swami, to keep all of these in mind. And after a short period of time, Bhagwan granted darshan to Ramanand Swami in sakar form, rewarding him for his unwavering nischay. Ramanand Swami never lost nischay in Bhagwan. He knew that out there was a human form of Swaminarayan Bhagwan, and he knew that I needed to achieve that. I needed to see Bhagwan in his human form. So Bhagwan went and gave darshan to Ramanand Swami for his unwavering nischay. And to have this like blind nischay without even, because Bhagwan Swaminarayan did not exist during this time, and to have this nischay that there was a sakar form of Bhagwan is quite fascinating. It's unbelievable how Ramanand Swami did that. And Bhagwan states in Vachanam Gadara Pratham 45, Purushottam Bhagwan is eternally sakar, and that murti is extremely luminous. So Purushottam Bhagwan is the equivalent to Swaminarayan Bhagwan. That's just a different name for Bhagwan. Just as how the Bhagwan has different names, like Ghanshyam Maharaj, Hari Krishna Maharaj, Purushottam Bhagwan is one of them. Is eternally sakar, so human form. And the murti is luminous. It's extremely vibrant. If you go to mandir and if you closely do darshan of Maharaj with all of your focus on it, you can see the vibrancy and you can see the tej that comes out of Bhagwan's murti. That murti that our Acharya Maharaj and Lalji Maharaj have installed in our mandirs in the US and in India, and Bhagwan installed in the 6 Mood mandirs, those are divya places. Those are places that are extremely pavitra and pure. Those murtis are Bhagwan himself. And Bhagwan continues and says, his perfect, all-pervasive Antaryami Murti Brahm, characterized by Satchidanand, is actually the divine light of Purushottam Bhagwan, but he himself possesses a definite Murti. So Atmanand Swami could only attain Samadhi of Brahm, who is the divine light of Bhagwan, but he did not attain Samadhi of Bhagwan himself. But Ramanand Swami did, under the leadership and under the guidance of Ramanujacharya. And this is a perfect example of how to have good guidance. Guidance isn't just enough. You need to make sure that the people you rely on are good and they are positive effects on you, not negative. If we take account, Atmanand Swami was a negative impact on Bhagwan, but Ramanujacharya was positive. So Ramanand Swami knew that I'm going to need to make a choice here. To leave my guru and find another one, a positive influence, or to continue with this negative influence. Ramanand Swami chose the correct answer, and he found a new guru. Zoom poll time. So, poll 3. Hold on, I'm just going to launch it. So, true or false? Sri Swaminarayan Bhagwan is Nirakar. So I'll give you guys like a minute to answer this question, and we will reconvene. Okay. So most of the answers are in. So I'm going to share the results. False. Swaminarayan Bhagwan was Sakar. Let's make sure we understand that. He was Sakar Murti and he was not Nirakar. Okay. Continuing on. Now we know how to attain a Nischay, which is through the 6 pillars and through Gnan and through good people. How do we maintain Nischay? We maintain Nischay through the 6 pillars, and we broaden our Nischay in the 6 pillars. For example, reading Sastras. If you read Sastras, you will enhance your vocabulary. Even like myself, I don't know how to read Gujarati, and it sometimes is really hard to find Sastras in English. If you go to svg.org, so many Sastras are translated into English for our benefit, like the Vachnamrut, the Satsangi Jivan, the Shiksha Patri. And also you can find these on the App Store as well. You just type in the name of the Sastra and it will come up. And by having all these, you can understand that you will strengthen your Nischay, because the more you understand the Sastras, the more you will understand Bhagwan. And the more you understand who Swaminarayan Bhagwan is, the better your faith will be in him. And also going to Mandir and participating at Mandir tasks and events. Like I said before, just because you go to Mandir once does not mean it's done, one and done. You have to continually go. Like for instance, you can't just go like on the Utsav Divas, like Patutsav Javano, and then that's it. By going to Mandir frequently, regardless of whether you go to like Sabha or not, which you should, but I understand that some people don't have time because of work or whatnot, you should try to make an effort to see Bhagwan at Mandir like once a month, or personal goal. You should have a personal goal. I just gave one example, but you should have that in the back of your head that, oh, I'm going to see Bhagwan this so and so times this year or this month. By having this, you will continually go to Mandir and you will continually be within Bhagwan's touch. And by also listening to kathas and kirtans, hint, hint, this will be really helpful in the debate tomorrow. By listening to kathas are a direct, like oral reflection of Bhagwan Sastras. So that is also similar, not identical, but similar to reading Sastras, except in more detail. Because whoever's doing the katha, like for instance, Lalji Maharaj or Santo or even a Parsad, whoever's doing the katha is actually explaining it in detail. So for instance, you're reading a Vachnamrut and you read, I'm like, I don't understand this part, because personally, I don't understand some parts either, because it is a complex thing. You go online and you go, for instance, to svg.org, or you go to LNDYM YouTube, so SVG YouTube, you can find a whole bunch of kathas about any topic ever that you could possibly think about. And by listening to these kathas, if there's a part you don't understand, there's a great explanation. And so you can understand that part because they will simplify it for you. And kirtans, kind of like to say similarly, by listening to kirtans are direct, like they're direct, but it's a form of bhakti, because it's you're singing something or you're listening to Bhagwan's Varni. The Nan Santos created so many kirtans for us to sing. For instance, Manaki Chadare Mohana Vanamari, that whole kirtan is a lila itself of Swaminarayan Bhagwan. And by just thinking about that kirtan, you can just remember the entire lila of what happened. And that's directly thinking about Bhagwan and one of his lilas. So by listening to kirtans and kathas, you can strengthen and maintain your nischay by continually doing so. And also connecting with Santos, Dharmakur, and Sankhyogi Beno is also really important. Like if when Santos and Dharmakur come once a year, we should really take that opportunity to engage with them. But after they leave, it is important to stay in touch with them once in a while to like make sure that they're doing good and to catch up with them, if that makes sense. You should always stay in touch with these positive influences in your life throughout your whole life. And continuing, you should also ask questions that you may not be sure about. And you should always have that mentality that I want to be a better satsangi. If you have this mentality, then automatically it will set a positive mindset for yourself. And Bhagwan has said in the Vachanamrita, once a year, you should reflect to see how much you have grown from the previous year in satsang. And this doesn't mean like, oh, this year I started doing like an extra mara in my puja. That's like a small goal. What Bhagwan is saying here is that like a big goal. Like for instance, last year I was eating onion and garlic. This year I stopped eating onion and garlic. And that is a very good improvement because you're directly following one of Bhagwan's niyams. And I understand that sometimes you can't follow the niyams, and that's totally fine because satsang is you're growing. It's about improvement. It's not about being perfect. It's about growing and improving. And Bhagwan will see this improvement, and he will his Rajipo will be on you. So once you should reflect to see where you are. A good time to do this would be like Shibir or like the New Year, Diwali, your birthday. Like Shibir is a great time because you're already surrounded by all these good people like Laji Maharaj, like Dharmakur, all these other uncles. By having these good influences, you can automatically just reflect on yourself to see, where was I last year? Where am I now? And where do I want to be within the next year? And this will help you maintain your Nischay in Bhagwan. And you can reflect, did my Nischay decrease, increase? Did I level up on one of the Nischays? Because you could go from Ganesh to Madhyam, Madhyam to Uttam. It takes time, but it happens throughout your life. You should have that goal that by the time I'm old, I want to have Uttam Nischay. And Nischay can be presented in many forms. For instance, the Murti in our puja, we should have that firm belief that when we sing the Uttishta Govinda Stotam in the morning in our puja, Bhagwan is directly coming from Akshardham into our Pujani Murti. And when we do Mara, when we do the Pradakshina, when we do Danvat or Pancha Namaskar, Bhagwan is directly accepting our bhakti. Similarly, when we perform our daily rituals to Bhagwan, for instance, Thar, Arti, when you're sitting in the Bhagwan room doing Mara or Siyasan, I think everyone has like a Siyasan in their house. And when you do Thar and Arti, you should have that mentality that, wow, Bhagwan is in my house and he is sitting here. Like this is his room. Similarly to how you have a bedroom, your parents have a bedroom. This is Bhagwan's room or like Bhagwan's space. And Bhagwan is here. And we feed Bhagwan. We do Arti to Bhagwan. And he accepts all our bhakti. And also, most importantly, in our Mansi Puja, a person who, Bhagwan states in Gadara Antya 23, a person who is a Bhakta of Bhagwan daily performs the Mansi Puja of Bhagwan. The Mansi Puja of Bhagwan is said to be the similar as if you were doing Bhagwan, if you were doing those activities to Bhagwan. Like for instance, in our morning Mansi Puja, we should wake Bhagwan up in a like calming fashion. We should do Danvat to Bhagwan. Then we should take him to the bathroom, brush his teeth, Bhagwan Navravana, wash Bhagwan, bathe him. Then we put on clothes, Bhagwan Vastra Dharan Karavana. And then we take him for Thar, Bhagwan Jamarvana. And then you visualize, what do I want to feed Bhagwan today? And that could be anything you want it to be. Because Bhagwan does not care about what you feed him. Bhagwan bhavna bhukyacha. Bhagwan is hungry for your love. He's not looking to see, oh, is he feeding me what I like? But Bhagwan does not care. Bhagwan will accept anything that you give him. Even if you give him one roklo and a little bit of makhan, Bhagwan will accept that. Because Bhagwan knows that this bhakta's bhav is so pure and that's all that counts. And by doing Mansi Puja every day, you have that nischay that, okay, when I do Mansi Puja, Bhagwan is directly accepting my bhakti towards Bhagwan. After achieving firm faith, what as satsangis can we do with it? So we can inspire and motivate others to also have nischay in Bhagwan. So like for instance, if someone is feeling down or feeling negative, you can be like, don't worry, Bhagwan will help you through this. Bhagwan's got you. There's no reason why Bhagwan won't help you throughout your life. And by doing this, that person can start to develop nischay. You can kickstart that basically and help them. And a good example of this would be Santo when they preach to satsangis. When Santos are doing katha, or they come to the US, or Dharmakur comes to the US, they're directly preaching Bhagwan's Varni, and they're spreading satsang, and they're spreading Bhagwan's Nischay. And we can also strengthen our Nischay by helping satsangis correct their mistakes. Like, not in like a rude and like mean way, but if you see someone that like needs help, like for instance, when I was younger, I didn't know how to do Mara correctly until the age of 14. I just thought, I'll just show you. I just thought you just like when you get to the end, like here, you just continue it. Like you go like this and then you continue it. But in reality, what you're supposed to do is when you get to the end, you don't actually cross the little tassel thing. And this is because after you do the 108 Mara beads of Bhagwan, this is a form of Bhagwan. So you don't want to step over Bhagwan. You want to basically go under, over, and you go around again. So basically you're kind of going in like going back and forth, but you never actually cross over that tassel. And I didn't know this until I was like 14 and a half, I think 15. And this is like and because obviously you would never find out, because when you do Mara, it's in this. So how could you? It's like some of these like silly like errors, by having in contact with all these satsangis, you can learn new things about our satsang, like these small little things. Even though they may be small, it's also really important. Like it does make a difference. And lastly, you to have firm nischay in Bhagwan, as Bhagwan states in Shiksha Patri Slok 25, none shall listen to religious discourses or narrations or stories, even the divine stories of God, from a person whose speech may lead to a fall from the path of devotion to God or from one's religious duties. So people who will lead you away from Bhagwan, even though they may be telling leelas or stories about Bhagwan, you should not listen to them and listen to their Varni, because that will lead you away from Bhagwan. And basically that, in other words, to protect yourself from kusang, which is also similar to these kinds of people. And so let's understand what the 8 types of murtis that Bhagwan resides in, because in our mandir and in our puja, those murtis, now you may think, wait, so are these the same? Are these the different? So let's go over that and understand that. So Bhagwan resides in all 8 types of murtis of stone, wood, metal, and the metal contains panchadhatu, which is like bronze, copper, etc. And our Hare Krishna Maharaj and Varta is made of panchadhatu, ni murti cha. Earth or sandalwood. So the stuff that you use for tilak chandan, that is that chandan is made of sandalwood. So a murti can be actually made from that. It can be engraved or drawn. And if you see in the old mandirs when you go to India, you may see the murtis that are like carved into the stone, that like are on the walls everywhere. That Bhagwan also comes into those murtis as well, and drawn murtis too. Bhagwan can be made of sand, gems, or even mentally. So like we mentioned in the Mansi Puja, Bhagwan resides in that murti. Bhagwan also resides mentally as well. So that is also a form of Bhagwan's murti. And Bhagwan says in Gadara Pratham 68, a bhakta of Bhagwan who worships those murtis should maintain the same respect for them as he does for Pratyaksh Bhagwan. So he should have that mentality that, okay, this murti in mandir, or this murti in my puja, or this murti in my family's siyasan is the same murti that is in Akshardham. I should have the same respect for this as I were if this was actually Bhagwan here himself. Because Bhagwan is there. That is Bhagwan himself. And we need to understand that. And in our mandirs, Bhagwan says in Shiksha Patri Slok 62, idols established by my acharyas are true murtis. Others should be bowed and just respected upon. But je Acharya Maharaj or je Dharmakure je just established, if they have established those murtis, then those are the murtis that Bhagwan resides in. And Bhagwan Avaj, there's no doubt about it. A quick sidetrack, if you remember in 2017, New Jersey Mandir's Murti Pratishtha, when Ladji Maharaj did the Murti Pratishtha and he showed the mirror to Bhagwan, the mirror cracked when Bhagwan was entering the Murti. Bhagwan 110% resides in that murti. And as a lila, Amba Sethni bo mast lila cha. When Amba Seth from Gadari Gam, Bhagwan held a prakarn that no one can come for his darshan. A prakarn was kind of like like a ritual, Bhagwan would held different prakarans for all the satsangis or sadhus. For instance, one of them was like, okay, this month or like this half month or these 4 months, we're not going to eat salt. So mitu ka sama na khwanu nahi. So no salt in anything. Another one could be, okay, this month we're not going to have any like milk products or etc. These were the prakarans that Bhagwan had. So one of the prakarans was no one can come for his darshan, but in reality, this was kind of as a test. So Amba Seth held Bhagwan's Varni for 24 days. So meaning that he didn't go for Bhagwan's darshan for 24 days. But after that, he could not handle it. So what he did was he climbed behind the wall of Akshar Urdi and he had tied a heavy chofal or like a chadar over his body so no one can see like, okay, this is like Amba Seth. So he was unrecognizable. So, and then Amba Seth, as he was entering, he fell inside of the Akshar Urdi. And then all of a sudden, there was like obviously a huge noise, like a bam. And then Bhagwan's like, what just happened? Like, what was that? And then Amba Seth started shouting, Nyalkaran, Nyalkaran. And then Bhagwan ran towards the direction and thought, who is shouting my name, Nyalkaran? By the way, Amba Seth, if you remember, Bhagwan has 11 names. And one of them is Nyalkaran. And Amba Seth actually gave this name to him. And Bhagwan ran towards the direction and thought, who is shouting my name? And then when Bhagwan slowly unwrapped the chofal, and it was Amba Seth. You think about this as like, in Scooby-Doo, when they like take off the mask of the evil person, kind of like that. That's what Bhagwan did, kind of revealed himself. And then Bhagwan said, what is all this? Like, why did you do this? And then Amba Seth said, I can't stand without your darshan, Maharaj. You are holding this prakarana, but it's I hate it so much. You are not allowing us to do your darshan. So what did you want me to do? I needed to see your darshan, because you make me so happy, and I have full nischay in your murti as well. And then Bhagwan became so happy and said, Baddhane Baddha Amba Seth ne chuti, which means that of all the people, this prakarn is okay. This prakarn ends for Amba Seth only, because Amba Seth had such a profound love for Bhagwan and Bhagwan's murti. So we now know. So if you might think about this, be like, okay, we know what to do to build nischay, but how did Bhagwan build nischay in the beginning? Because like I said before, Bhagwan was unknown on earth. No one knew Swaminarayan Bhagwan was Akshardham na Adhipati, that Akshardham existed. So how did Bhagwan show everyone that, oh, this is me, this is Akshardham, I am the true controller of the whole universe? And then, so Bhagwan did was he gave samadhis to show other his swarup. And the way he did this was, if there was a bhakta of Ram Bhagwan, Bhagwan would show if someone was walking by and he was a bhakta of Ram Bhagwan, Bhagwan would show him samadhi of Ram Bhagwan. And when that person came out of samadhi, they would instantly realize, wait, this person just showed me darshan of Ram Bhagwan. Imagine what he is capable of. So in this way, Bhagwan gained the trust of and gained the nischay of all of these people. And then also Bhagwan and his santo went from village to village. Like similarly to how our Dharmakur and Santo travel the US from state to state for months when they come here. Maharaj and his Santo went from village to village. This is kind of authenticated in the Vachnamrut. There were 1,000 Vachnamruts written, but only 262 made the cut into the actual book. The Vachnamrut is such a good resource for us satsangis. And by using the Vachnamrut as a great tool in the Sastras, we can have firm nischay and have that gnan. And when Bhagwan traveled from village to village, as you can tell in the Vachnamrut, there's Vachnamruts written in Gadara, Sarangpur, Loya, Vartal, Ahmedabad. All these places, Bhagwan has written Vachnamruts. So he would be traveling and he would spread his Varni. Bhagwan also established mandirs for his satsangis for when he returned to Akshardham. Bhagwan knew that I'm not going to be here forever. I'm going to have to go back to Akshardham. I can't just stay here forever. So what Bhagwan did was he established the mandirs and he created Ahmedabad Mandir, Bhuj Mandir, Vartal Mandir, Junagadh Mandir, Dholera, and Gadara Mandir. But he knew that these weren't going to be the end of the mandirs, because Bhagwan had also started construction on Jetalpur, Dwarka, Muri. So he knew that my satsang was on the basis of spreading. So I can go now. So he established mandirs for all his satsangis to get together and it's like a common ground for everyone to get away from life. That is what mandir is for. Bhagwan also wrote the Shikshapatri. By writing the Shikshapatri himself, he wrote this in one day. And the story behind this is that after Bhagwan was done reading the Shikshapatri, Bhagwan asked the nun Santo, everyone, Amathi ek bhul karo, like show me a mistake from this book and I will give you my thar. So like my thar no prasad. So everyone, all the santos were trying really hard to find a mistake of Bhagwan. Like, oh, like one word, that's all Bhagwan needed. But Bhagwan's Varni was perfect the way he wrote it. They could not find even one mistake from the whole entire book. I don't know about you, but when I'm like writing a essay for school, I make so many grammatical errors, and we have the typewriter. We have like we can type on the computer on Google Docs or whatever you use. Back then, once you write it down, it's final. You can't change like what it is. So to think that Bhagwan wrote this flawlessly in one day, one try, no mess ups, it's kind of unbelievable. And also, Bhagwan established the two Gadis in order to continue his lineage and his sampradaya. Like we reviewed in Rapid Fire, Bhagwan adopted Ram Pratap, his older brother's son, Ram Pratap ji Bai's son, Ayodhya Prasad ji Maharaj, and he adopted Sri Icharamji's son, Sri Icharamji's son, Raghuveer ji Maharaj, to establish the Ahmedabad Gadi for Ayodhya Prasad ji Maharaj, as you can see right here on the left, and Vartal Gadi for Raghuveer ji Maharaj. And by establishing these Gadis, Bhagwan basically was setting the foundation for our sampradaya to continue and to expand. And it was done to guide the future generations. Our Lalji Maharaj right now is the 9th generation of Raghuveer ji Maharaj. That is how long our satsang has lasted. And our satsang still has a long way to go. And it is up to us as satsangis to make sure that we continue this pattern for future generation to come. So we went over what firm nishchay is. Now let's understand what deficiency is nishchay is. Because if you can recognize what like a deficiency or like a kami in your nishchay is, then you can understand how I can fix it. So Nrsimhanand Swami asked in Gadara Pratham 63, what kind of thoughts arise in a person who has a deficiency in nishchay in Bhagwan? So if I have a kami in my nishchay, what kind of thoughts arise? And then Bhagwan replied with, a person with a deficiency in nishchay would become extremely elated on, say, Bhagwan display some of his powers. Like Bhagwan had so many powers, and these sometimes were unrecognizable. Like for instance, one time a bhakta came to do darshan of Maharaj, and Maharaj was finished eating his thar, and Bhagwan noticed that there was something, I think like there was a little bit of food stuck on Bhagwan's elbow, and Bhagwan started licking his elbow, and this bhakta told Muktanand Swami, Akla, like he's Bhagwan and he's like licking his elbow, like he's doing what 5-year-olds do. But then Muktanand Swami explained to that bhakta, can you lick your elbow? Like, is that humanly possible for us? Like, I can't lick my elbow. I don't think anyone else can. And then the bhakta realized, wow, that's like kind of extraordinary. He's like, yeah. So the point of that like little lila was that you have to see, you can't just think with like, you have to take your lens off and view it from another perspective of like the Divya Parnu of Bhagwan, like these are an example of his power. So when Bhagwan shows his power, the person becomes, wow, this is Bhagwan. I have full nishtay in Bhagwan. However, when he sees no such display of divine powers, he becomes disheartened. Despite trying, if he is unable to eradicate impure thoughts from his heart, then he has a dislike towards Bhagwan. So if Bhagwan doesn't show his power, he's like, okay, so you're Bhagwan and you're not showing me your powers, then what makes you Bhagwan? Like, if you're not going to like show me what you can do. So like, if you like, damdatiya Bhagwan in the sense. So if this bhakta can't remove this impure thought from his heart, then he begins to dislike Bhagwan and questions him, okay? So he feels, I have bent over backwards practicing satsang for so long, yet Bhagwan still has not eradicated my impure thoughts. So basically what Bhagwan means, Bhagwan, that bhakta, blames everything on Maharaj in the sense that, oh, you're not doing this for me, then if you're not going to give me what, like, if you're not going to show me what your divine powers, if you're not going to give me from Nishchay, then like, you know, I'm going to blame it on you. And that's kind of a negative mentality that we shouldn't keep, because it is up to us to have Nishchay in Bhagwan. Bhagwan has given us all of these guidelines, and it's up to us to basically follow by these guidelines, if that makes sense. And in the same Vachanamrut, Bhagwan Param Chaitanand Swami asks Bhagwan the opposite. How do we attain perfect Nishchay? Param Chaitanand Swami asks Maharaj, what are the thoughts of a person with perfect Nishchay? Shriji Maharaj replied, a person with perfect Nishchay feels within, I have attained all there is to attain. Wherever Pratyaksh Bhagwan resides, that itself is the highest Dham. So similarly to how Amba Seth felt when he had darshan of Maharaj, when a bhakta of Bhagwan gets the Pratyaksh darshan of Maharaj in the form of like any of the 8 types of murtis, he feels, wow, this is it. I've attained the highest Dham. He doesn't even want to go to Akshardham because Akshardham is right in front of him. Bhagwan is right in front of him. He has no other desire. So the bhakta has the mentality, now I have nothing more to achieve. I have attained Golok, Vaikunt, and Brahmpur. These are all dhams of other avatars of Bhagwan. Golok is Krishna Bhagwan's dham, Vaikunt is Ram Bhagwan's dham. So he has this belief that I have attained all there is to attain. A person with perfect Nishchay has such thoughts and experiences, extreme elation in his heart. So a person with perfect Nishchay has this mentality and this positive attitude towards satsang and towards his Nishchay Maharaj. One who experiences such feelings should be known to have perfect Nishchay. So a person who has the mentality that wherever Bhagwan is, that's where Akshardham is, and that I don't need anything else but Bhagwan, is a person with perfect Nishchay. Now, on the opposite, Sansay. Sansay is having doubts in Maharaj. And it's said that one drop of Sansay can destroy an entire ocean full of Nishchay, because you only need just a little bit of negativity to destroy a whole bunch of positivity. You can, to put this into perspective, if you put one drop of milk into a glass of water, the water turns cloudy. So that pure water, that positive water, gets impure because of the milk. But if I put one drop of positivity of water into a whole glass of milk, nothing's going to change. So even if I put Nishchay into Maharaj, but I still have Sansay, it's not going to change. It won't benefit me. You will need to eradicate your Sansay or doubt in Maharaj. And a great lila of this would be Abel Kacharni lila. One time, someone started saying bad things to Abel Kacharni lila, telling him that Swaminarayan Bhagwan isn't Bhagwan and that he is fake. So Abel Kachar believed this, and he's like, okay, that's it. I'm done. If this Swaminarayan Bhagwan, this Bhagwan is not real, I'm gonna go and just kill him to put everyone at peace. So this was a strong statement that he made, yes, but watch what happens in the end. Abel Kachar was determined, and he even had waited at the front gate of Dada Kachar's darbar for Bhagwan to leave. And he was ready and waiting there to kill Bhagwan. Just put that, he's just behind a bush, just waiting there with a sword, I'm gonna kill Bhagwan. And so then Laruba and Jiuba were watching, and they found out. So they immediately notified Bhagwan that Bhagwan, Abel Kachar's out there, like he wants to kill you. Like he's going to kill you if you go out the front gate. Make sure to go out the back gate. Like they were warning him. Then Bhagwan kind of like smiled at them. They're like, Laruba, Jiuba, who is the all-doer of the universe? And then they said, you are Maharaj. And then he said, then don't you think the all-doer of the universe knows? And don't you think that I'm going and about the countless universes? And don't you think I know of Abel Kachar's intentions? And they're like, yes, you do. Of course you do, Maharaj. And then they're like, and then he's like, yes, if so, then I will go through the front door. And then Laduba and Juba obviously could not go against Bhagwan's Agna and what he said. So they agreed. So Maharaj walked through the front gate of Dada Kachar's darbar, and he saw Abel Kachar hiding there. He was just with his sword in the corner. And then in that moment, Maharaj gave Abel Kachar Divya Darshan of his Murti. And Divya Darshan is a darshan that only that person can see. Nobody else around them can see that. Abel Kachar was shown Bhagwan's true Murti of what Akshardham is. And in that moment, all of his Sansay went down the drain. He had no more doubts in Bhagwan. And in that instant, he went to Bhagwan's feet and asked for forgiveness for Maharaj. Oh, please, Maharaj, forgive me for my sins and forgive me for my mentality. And forgive me for all I've done. Bhagwan accepted this. And from that day on, Abel Kachar had firm Nishchay in Bhagwan. And this is a good example of, even though Sansay can greatly impact Nishchay, Sansay can be removed as well. So it's also important to think that, okay, if I do have Sansay, I can remove it. You should have that mentality that I'm strong enough and my Nishchay and Bhagwan is powerful enough that I can remove any sansay that comes in my way. And not having sansay is very, very important. And it's greater than having Nishchay and Bhagwan. Because if you doubt Bhagwan, then automatically your Nishchay will become faltered. So it's important to not have sansay. And in Garuda Pratham 78, Mota Shivanand Swami asks Bhagwan, how can a person who has firm Nishchay in Bhagwan be recognized? So if I have firm Nishchay in Bhagwan, how can I be recognized? Like, how do I know if I have firm Nishchay? Because you won't know if you have if not, how will you know if you have firm Nishchay? How will you know that, okay, I where I am right now is good? You don't. So this Vachanamrut is a perfect example that the Vachanamrut is here to help us and to make sure that we're doing the right steps. So Mota Shivanand Swami asks us, and Bhagwan replies, a person with firm Nishchay in Bhagwan, regardless of all actions performed by Bhagwan, regards all actions performed by Bhagwan as Kalyankari, whether they are good or bad. In fact, however many countless kinds of kriya a faithful bhakta witnesses, whether Bhagwan wins or loses or runs away, or whether he shows pleasure or grief, he says all kriyas of Bhagwan are for the sake of Kalyan. So, for instance, you are on the soccer team and your team is so good. You are the best in the state. You know you're going to win like this game, but you guys don't. And some countless people mess up, and in the end, you guys don't win the game. And you think to yourself, why didn't Bhagwan help me win this game? And in that morning, you asked Bhagwan, please help me in this game. But Bhagwan didn't help you. But in that moment, you may think negatively, like, wow, Bhagwan wasn't there for me when I needed him. But if you take the positive outlook of that, you can think to yourself, wait, so what did I do wrong in that moment? And an example would be that you automatically thought that your team was going to win. You underestimated the other team. And the famous fable, I think from everyone's childhood that we can recognize, is the tortoise, and he won the race slow and steady, and the rabbit he was overconfident and he knew that he was going to win. But in the end, that turtle slowly but surely won that race. So similarly, we shouldn't have overconfidence in our life and in satsang that, oh, I'm doing good. I'm good where I am right now. You should always have the mentality that I can always do better. What else can I do to please Bhagwan? Because remember, satsang isn't like, it's not like a grade in school. It's not like, okay, A+ and that's it. I'm good to go. I have 100 in this class. This isn't a class. This isn't like it's not a graded thing. It is a thing where you should develop and continuously improve on throughout your life, because there's always room for improvement in our satsang, regardless of how big or small you are. And even if Bhagwan curses you, Bhagwan, that person is happy no matter what. This bhakta of Bhagwan who has firm Nishchay, who is Uttam Nishchay, is happy no matter what. And he realizes that Bhagwan's kriyas are for my kalyan. So whatever Bhagwan is giving me, regardless of curse or blessing, it is for my kalyan. It is for my betterment or for my soul. So if a bhakta speaks only in this manner whenever he speaks, then he should be known to have absolute Nishchay in Bhagwan. So a person who holds this mentality has firm Nishchay in Bhagwan, regardless of the circumstances. So Zoom poll time. So so the poll is, having Sansay and Maharaj is greater punya than having Nishchay. So I know we kind of had that little Vachanamrut break before that, but let's see the results. So I'll let it go for a few more seconds. And try to remember what is Nishchay and then what is Sansay. And I'll give you a hint. Punya is blessing. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So this is false. Having Sansay, having doubt in Maharaj is greater blessing than having Nishchay in Maharaj. That is false, because we shouldn't have any doubts in Bhagwan. We should only have positive attitude, and we should only have Nishchay and faith in Bhagwan. Now let's put it into perspective. So why do you need Nischay in your life at this moment? I know even myself, I held this mentality for the longest time as a little kid. Oh, I saw my dada and I was like, oh, I can just do this when I retire. I can do satsang when I retire. When I'm old, that's when I can do satsang. Right now, it's time for me to focus on school. It's time for me to focus on life, live my life. And then in the end, I'll just do bhajan and bhakti and then call it a day. But that is the wrong mentality. And I personally took a lot to overcome that, because what you need Nischay in your life at this moment, because if you have Nischay in Bhagwan, then Bhagwan will help you throughout your life. If you have Nischay in Bhagwan, Bhagwan will recognize you as a bhakta, as his bhakta, and he will help you throughout your life. And not only just throughout your life, you need Nischay now, because you should not wait until Ant or the end, when you are old. In the Vachanamrut, Gadara Pratham 3, Bhagwan references this, saying you should not wait till the end and you should start. Even if it's just a little bit, start now. Even if it's just doing a 10-minute puja, start. Even if it's just a little bit, you should start, because if you start now, you can slowly improve, and Bhagwan will see that improvement and he will recognize that. And it's really important that we do this and not wait until the end, because if we wait till the end, Bhagwan won't see it as love. He will see it as a source of, oh, he's just trying to do it to do it, not to do it for love. But we should have Nischay in Bhagwan because we love Bhagwan, and we have that Nischay in Bhagwan, that this is Bhagwan and there's no other Bhagwan. So the discussion question is, which is the end of this session, is what keeps you drawn to satsang in order to continue and develop your faith? So who would like to answer this question? Anyone can raise their hand and they'll be called on. So anyone want to take a jab at, like, what keeps you, think about it, what keeps you drawn to satsang in order to continue and develop your faith? Sahil?
So for me, the mandir is a great place to keep you drawn to satsang and develop your faith. Obviously, right now, due to Corona, you can't really. Most people aren't going to the mandir regularly, but when you can, the mandir is like the best place to go to develop a bond with Bhagwan. It's peaceful there. There are many other Haribhaktos and Santos there. If you have any questions about our Sampradaya in general or some misconceptions, you can ask the Haribhaktos and Santos, which develops your Gnan and in turn your Nischay.
That's a really good response, and you're so right. Rohan?
So one of the things that I really like is going to mandir because it's very peaceful and you can learn things. And also when you do arti, thar, kirtan, and other stuff, you feel very calm. And also if you know the end goal will be positive, then it'll keep you more drawn towards it.
Good answer. That's really good. Here?
The Mahatma of Bhagwan, like how big our Mahatma, his is Kata birthday.
Good. Yes, good job. It's really important to understand the Mahatma of Bhagwan and how big he actually is compared to us. Does anyone else want to go and take a jab at this?
Kaushal wanted to go.
Okay, go ahead. Hello?
I think he's muted. Ah, okay.
All right. So, what what it means to me is to develop your faith and um, have full nishya in Bhagwan and keep yourself in full concentration of mind and understand why we need to do the um, niyam nishya and paksh, why we need to keep that in mind.
Yes. Anushka?
Probably having a mindset that you shouldn't rely on God, but know that He's with you and know that everything's going to be fine.
Yes, we should. Yeah, we should definitely have that reliance on Bhagwan and have that mentality that, oh, Bhagwan is here for us. Good job. That was really good. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to contribute or any questions before we end this PowerPoint? This can be anything, small or big. Just raise your hand. Okay. Great. Thank you so much for listening. And I will give it over to... Oh, wait, is there one more question? Oh, Radhi, is that your name? I can see you raising your hand. Do you want to take a jab at this? Sorry.
Yeah, it's Radhi. So one of the things that I feel helps me stay drawn is to have a routine. So every morning, having to wake up and pray. So irrespective of what your plan of the day is, where you are, having that routine in place, it keeps me connected, it keeps me going. And also having people around me that do the same, like follow that same routine, like my parents or like my siblings, that keeps me connected on a consistent basis.
That is good. That's a really good response to have that connection. Yes. Okay. Since there's no more, I'm going to stop and we are going to hand it back to Dhruv, who will take us to our next activity.
Hey, Raj, thank you for this awesome Nishchay slide. I personally, every time you go over the slide, even though we've discussed it so many times, I always keep learning something. And one of the things that I learned just now is, as you mentioned, right, we shouldn't wait, right? This is like an example. We shouldn't wait to do satsang in our old age. Let's start now. And then I was relating back and trying to find an example that's practical to my life. So I wasn't born and brought up in the United States, right? I was born and brought up elsewhere. And how our system was back then was that we wouldn't be doing, homework assignments, exams every few weeks, every few months. We only had one exam at the end of every semester. And for that, what we'd do is we'd study one day before the exam, we'll study. And most of the times I'd get a very bad grade, like a C or a D, or even sometimes I'd fail, right? It's because I just started one day before, right? To put that into perspective, if you think about it, right, what Maharaj and what Raj clearly showed us is that you want to start early, start small, like the hare and the tortoise, right? You don't want to go super fast. You want to start small. You want to learn and do it consistently, as Radhi said too, right? Regular praying, regularly doing religious activities builds up on your life, and it's just gonna become better and better as you go to old age. So just wanted to leave you with this small thought about Nishchay. And thank you so much for that, Raj. And now I'll hand it over to Mo. He's going to tell us more about Nishchay.
Okay, Jai Sonan, guys. Danvat Pranam to the Dharma Kul as well as all the Santos. And I just wanted to say something in regards to Nishchay. What you guys see out here? What is all that? Can anyone answer? What is all that? Think of this as us, right? What does satsang do? When all this snow is all scattered around, right? And when we're brought together like this, compacted into a one snowball, that's what satsang does. It binds us together. It binds us together and makes us solid, right? So satsang, it's this snowball. We are this. solid snowball that is under, and when you throw it, it's a force that someone gets hit with it, it's gonna, hurt. So Nischay, what does Nischay do for us? Right? It's that whole bonding together, right? Nischay is that firm faith that we have in what we believe, in our satsang, right? Our santos, what they have said, our scriptures, what they have written in there. That is what is binding us together, like that snowball, right? So Nischay is that firm faith that we have, and satsang is the binding of togetherness. But before that, I know it's a lot of information you got today from Raj. Raj, amazing job, by the way. To you guys is this: stand up, right? You guys sitting down, listening, all this. Just get it. What did I say? Get some energy. That's what we're missing. This energy that we're missing right now is what we need to do. Stand up if you have to. Take a quick mental break if you need to. For the next portion of our satsang, Shibir, satsang no rang, right? Well, I wanna push out to, let's say, who's Nitu right here? Nitu, say hi. What's up? Can you unmute yourself and let us know what Nischay means to you?
I think it means to like have faith in God and in general, like believe in him, whether there's like, even if you're in like a bad position, you should always believe in him. And even if something bad does happen, there's always a reason to it and improve on it.
Awesome. All right. And I see Kahan. Kahan, get on to the picture right here. Tell me a story that you've heard in the past that actually talks about Nischay in terms of, what that story foretells. There's a famous story. I know you've heard it. I know a lot of the people on here have heard it. All the kids here have heard it. So can you unmute yourself and tell me a little bit about that story?
I forgot the exact thing, but I can tell you some other story. I know of someone else who's in real life, but
okay, tell me that.
Yeah. Someone I knew who had like doubts, and he was asking for proof of God and everything. And so I sort of explained it to him, and he was like, okay, I think that I can improve on that and start believing more in Bhagwan.
Okay. Bansri, are you there? Unmute yourself, and can you give me one of the stories in our Hinduism that we always talk about that actually shows firm faith in belief of God, and it's actually saved? You could unmute yourself if you can.
I don't remember exactly.
How about your? How about yourself? What do you feel like there's when you faced where if you didn't have that firm faith that it would have brought you down a little bit, but that firm faith in whatever you believed in. Okay, hold on one second. I'm getting a message that my internet is not so great, so forgive me for that. All right. Okay, I'm trying to get to the story that that shows a lot about Nischay, firm faith that that person has had, and that has brought him greater, saved his life. So I know you guys know this story. I just want to see who knows the story. Can someone raise their hand and let me know who I'm talking about? How about if I say the person's name starts with the P? You guys hear me?
Mo here has his hand raised.
Bhakta Prahlad?
Yes. Yes. Who said that? Who said that?
Here.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about that story? What was it that he had faith in, and how did it save him?
So he had faith in Bhagwan, and his dad got angry about that. So he kept on fighting and trying to kill him, but Bhagwan kept on saving Prahlad from all the dangerous things his dad tried to do to him.
Right. So his faith was shaken. He was shaken like to the core from everybody around him. Like even his family members were shaking him, right? But he stood strong. He stood strong because he had that nischay. He had that firm faith in him that said, you know what, no matter what happens to me, Bhagwan will be there to save me, right? So that nischay that we have for Bhagwan, right? It's there. We have our full faith in everything that we do that actually is going to save us, right? From whatever it is. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, who knows what's the composition of the sun? Who knows what the composition of the sun is? What is the sun made of? Hydrogen and helium, perfect. But what is the percentage of hydrogen and helium? 91% hydrogen, 8.9% helium, right? But what does the sun do? It's a compact of all these gases, right? But what does the sun do? It gives us the light, it gives us the heat, it gives us the energy source that we need. That is what satsang is. Satsang is that whole ball of light that gives us the heat, gives us the strength, the energy to serve, to go through this life form that we have, right? This satsang, this life form that we have to get to the better place, which is Akshardham, right? When we go there, we want to have this energy source that we've gone through, that we went through with the Nishay, the firm faith in Bhagwan, the whole niyams and paksh that we create for ourselves. When you're combined like that, we have people that are 91% that are firm faith Nishay, right? And that 8.9% that might not have full Nishay, but they're all combined together to create this source. What we need to do is that when we surround ourselves, when we have this satsang that has this Nishay, this paksh, this sang, right? We need to combine that together, compact us like the snowball that I was just showing you, to become that firm energy source that can bring light to life. So with that being said, I don't know what else is the next program. I think it's the debate, I believe it is, right? Rohan, if you can add on to it.
Hey, yeah, so we still have one more person to talk. I think Part Tucker is gonna give us a small intro or a small discussion about Nishchay, and then we'll mention about closing and what's gonna come next.
All right,
So
perfect.
Part Tucker, I hand over the mic to you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You guys can hear me? All right. Jessar and everyone, thank you, Mo. It was a good speech you had. Good job to Raj and Dhruv for teaching. I just wanted to say that we are all a family. We are all a team. Like how Mohin Uncle was just saying. We are all one, right? So having faith in God is the main thing. That's pretty much what the Shibir is pretty much about. Is we're talking about what we've talked about so far is Nischay. We are all a team, guys. So no matter what, don't feel like, oh, I can't do puja or I can't go to mandir every week. Don't feel down. You always have satsang friends everywhere, right? We are all from all around the United States and we are all friends. We're all family, right? So if you ever feel down, like, oh, I didn't get to do puja or I don't know how to do puja or whatnot, you're more than welcome to ask any of us, right? We're all friends. We all have a WhatsApp group too. So if you guys are not in our WhatsApp group, the LNDYM WhatsApp group, we'll post that post your number or send us your numbers and we'll add you to that group. We're all one family and we would do anything for anyone. All right. So you guys have done such a fantastic job, great participation. It's amazing. Keep it up. And like I said, we are all one family, right? And I just want to say thank you and good job, guys. And keep it going. And Jai Swami.
Thank you, Parth, for that great introduction and just summing up what we are trying to say here. So as for next steps, you might have heard from Mo that we're going to have a debate. Debate is actually going to be tomorrow. The next session, that's going to be at 4:30 Eastern Time, 3:30 Central Time. That's going to be about Paksh, and then we're going to have a small activity in between, and then we're going to do Niyam, Actually, we're going to do Niyam first, and then activity, and then Paksh. So I encourage every one of you to join, and it's going to be super fun. The activities team has set out an awesome activity for us, and we're just really going to have a blast at it. And the education team has really worked hard on the slides, and they've put in a lot of work to make sure that we are able to understand the next two things for Satsang Narang, which is Niyam and Paksh. That's going to be again at 3:30 Central Time and 4:30 Eastern Time. Please join, and make sure that this time we have all our videos on, and the more the videos on, the better it looks on YouTube. So thank you so much. And I see Sachi Amin has raised her hand.
What will we do in the debate?
The debate will be a debate topic that we will discuss, and we'll have a there'll be someone for the for and someone on against. The debate topic will be mentioned on the day of the debate, so that we can't have anyone preparing right now, but it'll be done back when on Sunday morning.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions, lingering questions that I can answer before we call it a day for this session? Remember, there's another session at 4:30 again. Yes, part three.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can you guys post like the information for like the WhatsApp group and stuff?
Yes, everything will be posted after
All
this.
right, thank you.
All right, guys. Just want to thank Raj and the whole team for the first session, and thank you guys. You guys are the people who make the Shibir, right? Thank you for coming for the first session, and I expect to see each and every one of you on the second session again at 4:30. See you guys. Jai Swaminarayan.
Jai Swaminarayan.